As fear settled into Amaka's bones, she shook her head, trembling. Stories about the dangers of the Imo River came to her mind. She tried to gather the courage to explain her fears to Susana, but she knew it would be useless. Susana's face darkened with anger. Are you refusing me? Do you think you can decide when to obey me? Or do you think you are bold enough to challenge me in my own house? Amaka swallowed hard, fighting to keep the tears from spilling. No, ma, it's not safe at night. Susana's sleep called into a sneer. You ungrateful child, who do you think you are? After all I have done for you, you dare talk back to me? You will go to that river, Amaka, or you will wish you had. Now, get moving. Amaka replied, I have been obeying you all this while, but for this one, I am not going anywhere. I don't want anything to happen to me. I have heard how dangerous the river is, and I don't think it's safe to go. In response, Susana hit Amaka on her back. How dare you challenge me in this house? She started beating Amaka, and Amaka began crying and begging Susana for mercy. But Susana did not relent. Finally, Amaka agreed to go to the river because the beating was too much. Susana sneered. Better, I thought you said you weren't going. With her heart pounding, Amaka grabbed a small bucket, hoping she could get to the river and back quickly, avoiding any harm. She took one last look at the house, feeling a strange ominous sensation in the pit of her stomach. As she walked towards the darkened path leading to the Imo River, her mother's words echoed in her mind. You are destined to thrive, Amaka. You are strong. The path grew narrower as she neared the river, shadows stretching across the trees and casting eerie shapes around her. She whispered a prayer, hoping for safety, her small hands clutching the bucket as though it could shield her from the fears swelling around her. The time is approximately 11:34 p.m. Nigeria time. Amaka began to cry, realizing that the river was too dangerous for her to approach at that hour. She whispered to herself, why is my stepmother doing this to me? Why does she hate me so much, refusing to let anything good come my way? Why? 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 After all I have done for her, I respect her and do everything in the house, yet she treats me like a slave. Only God will reward her. On her way to the river, the environment felt calm yet frightening. Amaka muttered, I am scared to go near this river. Look at how airy calm everything is. As she approached the river, a sinister spirit lurking within saw her and said, yes, the body I will use and carry out my work has arrived. My aim was to kill her, but now I will enter her body and use her to deceive and destroy the world. It's time to show my power to this world. My daughter, you are welcome. The spirit within the river murmured. When Amaka reached the river, she was afraid to go too close to the water because it was midnight. It wasn't advisable to go to the Imo River at that hour. Amaka said to herself, should I keep going or go back? But if I go back now, my stepmother will beat me badly. She might even hurt me in the process. I don't understand why she hates me so much. I have no other option but to keep going forward. Amaka started approaching the river. As she got closer, a sound echoed from nowhere. Amaka jumped up, shouted and looked around to see where the sound was coming from, but she saw nothing. Her heart began to beat faster. Her body started trembling. What have I gotten myself into? Why did I agree to come here in the first place? I am scared, she whispered. From deep within the Imo River, the spirit of deception and destruction looked at Amaka's heart and said, she is just a good person. She harbors no ill will towards anyone. If there were two people here, I would have chosen the other one. But since she is alone, I will use her body for my work. The only consideration I will give her is this. When her people try to expel me from her body, I will live without harming her because she is good. But until then, I will use her to deceive and destroy the world. The spirit laughed menaciously. The spirit was in form of a massive python. Meanwhile, Amaka had made up her mind to fetch the water, thinking, whatever happens, let it happen. She took a deep breath and moved closer to the river. As soon as she dipped her bucket into the water, something like a chilling mist entered her body, and her eyes turned green instantly. The spirit of deception and destruction took control of her. Amaka commanded the buckets and it stood up. Water began rising, filling it as she ordered it to head straight to her stepmother. She then transformed into a giant python and disappeared into the river. Meanwhile, at home, Susana was waiting for Amaka to return. She said, Amaka is playing with me. If she comes back here without the water, she will regret the day she was born. Last time's beating was nothing. This one will be deadly. After 2 hours of waiting, without any sign of Amaka, Susana got up to see what was taking so long. When she stepped outside, she found the bucket full of water beside the building. She was surprised to see it. Oh, so this girl has grown up enough to defy me now. She came back and left the water here without even telling me. She will regret this. Amaka, she shouted, stepping inside, but there was no response. Susana went to Amaka's room and found it empty. Frustrated, she muttered, she knows what I will do to her. That's why she's hiding. I will wait for her tonight. Susana opened the back door, hoping to see Amaka, but found nothing. So, Amaka has grown so brave. She will regret the day she was born if she returns tonight. Susana brought the water inside, finished what she needed to do, and then locked both the front door and Amaka's room door, saying, let me see how she will get back in. She took both keys with her to her room and went to sleep. By then, her children were also asleep, since it was quite late. At 2 a.m., Amaka appeared inside her room. My stepmother will suffer in this house, she murmured. She's had her time to mistreat me. Now it's my turn. Amaka lay down and fell asleep. In the morning, Susana was shocked to find both the front door and Amaka's room door open. She held all the keys, including the spare ones, in her hands. What's going on? She muttered. Has Amaka found a way to unlock doors now? She must have a skeleton key or something. She stormed into Amaka's room, where Amaka was still sleeping. Susana shook her awake, demanding, how did you get in? I have all the keys. Amaka calmly replied, I have my own key. Susana insisted, you are lying. I am holding all the main keys and spare keys. Show me, Susana said, and without moving, she closed her eyes and a key appeared in her hand, which she then handed to Susana. Stunned, Susana thought, how did she do that? This is impossible. Where did you go last night? Susana demanded. You came back and left the water outside without even telling me. Amaka answered, I went to my friend's house. Why? Since when do you sleep outside? Susana fumed. I just decided to sleep there last night. I know I haven't done it before. But I wanted this time, Amaka replied calmly. Are you mad? Susana shouted. You no longer fear me. You think you can do as you please now. You are going to regret this. As Susana ranted, Amaka stared at her, thinking, "You think this is like before? Now, you will suffer for everything you have put me through. I won't harm you, but you will regret mistreating me." Susanna continued yelling, "I have beaten you as my child before, but today I will beat you like a slave." She raised her hand to slap Amaka, but her hand froze in midair. She tried again, but it still wouldn't move. She forced it, but it felt as if it was being drawn towards Amaka against her will. Afraid, she didn't know what was happening and so was too embarrassed to admit it to Amaka. "We will see about this, Amaka," Susanna muttered, walking away. "You are lucky I injured my hand last night while looking for you, but soon it will heal and I will beat you even harder. You have grown too bold sleeping outside." As she left, Amaka laughed a strange, airy laugh and made the door slam shut instantly. Her eyes glowed green. "Susanna," she murmured, "you will suffer in this house." From that day on, Amaka no longer obeyed Susanna's orders. She had reached her breaking point, and with the spirit inside her, she felt an overwhelming power that silenced her fear. Each time Susanna commanded her to do something, Amaka would simply stare with those airy green eyes, her face expressionless. One afternoon, Susanna called out, "Amaka, come and fetch firewood." "Are you deaf? Girl!" Amaka was sitting calmly in a corner of the room, her gaze fixed on the wall. She didn't flinch or even acknowledge Susanna's command. Susanna, furious at the lack of response, stormed over and shouted, "Didn't you hear me?" Amaka finally looked at her stepmother, her voice soft but filled with something that made Susanna's skin crawl. "Fetch firewood yourself. You have two hands." The audacity of her words struck Susanna like a slap. "How dare you talk back to me?" Susanna yelled, but before she could reach out to hit Amaka, her hand froze mid-air, just as it had that morning. No matter how hard she tried, her arm wouldn't move towards the girl. Frightened, Susanna took a step back. "What? What are you doing?" she stammered, feeling a chill run down her spine. Amaka didn't respond. She simply kept her intense, unblinking stare fixed on Susanna, who backed away, muttering angrily to herself, but too shaken to do anything else. One evening, Susanna, still determined to control Amaka, called her out to the yard. "You think you can do as you please now?" she hissed. "Let's see if you will ignore me this time." But Amaka didn't answer. Instead, she walked straight past Susanna as if she weren't visible and went back inside, her footsteps echoing with an unusual weight. The wind seemed to pick up around her, chilling the air. That night, Susanna decided enough was enough. She would get help from the village elders. Maybe someone there would know how to bring this stubborn girl back in line. But when she tried to leave the house, she found the door wouldn't open. It was as though an invisible force held it shut. Trapped and feeling helpless, Susanna turned around and saw Amaka standing silently in the hallway, her eyes glinting with a strange green light. "Leaving so soon?" Amaka asked in a calm voice, her tone mocking. Susanna's face drained of color. She backed away slowly, the realization dawning on her that whatever had taken over Amaka was something far beyond her understanding, and it was watching her every move she made. "Susanna," Amaka said, her voice echoing with a hint of the spirit power, "this is just the beginning. I may be your stepdaughter, but I am not your servant anymore." Susana, shaking with fear, hurried to her room, locking herself in, unable to sleep that night, haunted by the memory of Amaka's glowing eyes. After a while, she slept. The following morning, Amaka said to herself, all the things my stepmother has done to me, it's time to pay her back. As time goes on, I will be putting fear into Susana. She must pay for mistreating me. Despite the love I have shown her, she never cared. But now, it's my turn to deal with her. After finishing her words, Amaka's eyes turned green and she disappeared, only to reappear on the nearby street. She decided to walk down the street. As she walked, a man driving a car suddenly braked in front of her and asked her to stop. Amaka stopped. The man started talking to her. Hey, beautiful, how are you doing? Can I talk to you? Amaka replied, yes, go ahead. The man said, I want to ask you something. I don't want to waste your time. All I need is for you to tell me how much I should pay you so we can go to my house and be together. Don't worry, money is not a problem. Amaka didn't argue with him. She replied, all right, you will need to give me 20,000 naira. The man responded, 20,000 naira is a lot, but I will give you 30,000 naira because you are so beautiful. I just love your shape and everything. Amaka said, okay, I love your shape too, and you are so handsome. You are exactly what I have been wanting for a while. Girls usually don't make the first move, but let's go enjoy ourselves. The man agreed and asked Amaka to get into the car, and she did. When they arrived at his place, Amaka noticed it was very beautiful. They went inside his room. The man said, you can take off your clothes now. Amaka took off her clothes and the man did the same. The moment Amaka saw him undress, the spirit inside her took the man's destiny, blocking his sources of income. The man didn't notice anything. He had no idea he was about to lose everything and return to square one. He didn't know that Amaka was possessed, thinking that everything beautiful is gold. After they undressed, they started making love. During this, Amaka's eyes were a pure green color. If the man had looked into her eyes, he would have noticed, but because of the pleasure, he never bothered to look closely at Amaka. When they finished, Amaka commanded him to sleep. Instantly, he fell asleep. Amaka turned into a large python, disappeared and reappeared in her room. Later that night, Susana went to her room. She was the only one there, as her 3 children were away at boarding school, and Amaka had already finished secondary school. That night, Amaka said to herself, I will make my stepmother run herself tired tonight. I will make sure she is frightened. She thinks she can sleep peacefully. I will wake her up the way she used to wake me up. Immediately, Amaka transformed into a snake and started moving towards her stepmother's room. Please, if you are enjoying our story, please comment, like, and subscribe to our channel to see more of our stories. If you want us to do the part 3 of this story, please comment next. Thank you and God bless you.